and welcome to the second behind the scenes vlog for Gym BS. Today is the 18th of March and I'm getting ready for filming, which will be on the 20th and 21st of March for the second episode. We received our scripts about a week ago and I've been analysing that kind of behind the scenes as and when I can, but I've had other projects I've had to prioritise this week, so tomorrow is my main day for learning those lines. So I'll make sure to discuss that with you later on and show you how I dissect the script, the little clues that are in the script to indicate when we will be pausing and adding those freeze frames in so that it's easier to learn the chunks that we're going to do at a time. But before that, I thought I'd chat a little bit about my character, Jackie Tomlinson, and who I hope she becomes in the future for Gym BS. So Jackie is a personal trainer, and specifically she trains Carol, who is her friend, at the gym, and Carol is the news reporter. So we don't really have a set backstory of when they met, but I've kind of assumed that until we find out more, that they kind of met maybe at university or college. So they've been friends quite a long time. But Jackie's the sort of person that's quite easily influenced. She's not the main attraction in a room. Carol is definitely that very dominating character. And I think Jackie has, because she's quite a passive person and she's not as big and in charge, she's kind of been a bit of a sheep really, and followed Carol around and is quite happy because she feels like she's involved. And I think that's a massive thing. When I read the first episode, what I really got from Jackie is she just wants to be liked and she just wants to fit in. And I think that's so crucial because in this day and age with social media and everything else, all people want to do is feel included and to fit in, and sometimes we go out of our way to change who we are in order to fit in. And I sort of feel like that's how Jackie is. She's quite insecure, and I think she just always wants to prove herself, and I think she tries a bit too hard sometimes. She's also very gullible. She definitely believes in fake news, and if it's published on the internet it must be true. And especially having a reporter for a best friend, I imagine that her views are quite biased and are quite easily manipulated by Carol. So that's something that's really fun to play with, because you never really know what her opinion will be on a social issue, because you don't know what she's learnt from it or how she's come about that information, which I think is really interesting. And we definitely have some fun with that in later episodes that we're writing at the moment when it comes to women's rights and other issues that she probably should be more invested in, but she doesn't realise she's missing out. She doesn't feel inconvenienced or as a minority in society, which I think is quite interesting and very different to Natalie, who's younger than her and yet has more of an idea of the world and the biased views and the propaganda that occurs. Another thing about Jackie that I was really keen to bring in after I read the first episode is the idea of her using alternative therapies, or definitely being someone that has a belief in spirituality and crystal healing and alternative medication. And I think that whole world is so interesting, and there's so many opinions on whether it's harmful because it's not true and it's not based on scientific fact, or actually whether it's a calmer, softer alternative to the chemicals we sometimes pump into our body. And I think that discussion's quite fun and quite relevant at the moment. So yeah, you definitely will see more of Jackie's holistic approaches to life in future episodes. And what I hope that Jackie will become is maybe a bit more independent and maybe learn a bit more self-assurance as the episodes go on, because she is a valuable player and she definitely is intelligent, and she's, you know, clearly a really sympathetic person that just wants to be liked and wants to help people. And I think it would be nice if she can recognise that she has value and see how that takes her into the subplots and things in the episodes, because I don't think she always needs to be in Carol's shadow. I think she can bring herself out a little bit more, which at the moment I think she's a little bit scared to do, because I think she's so scared of other people's opinions. But yeah, so let's move on and talk about the script and how I go about analysing it. Okay, so this is the script for episode 2. and I'll just chat through a little bit about how I go about my process. So I haven't actually printed the entire script, and that's because they're pretty long and I don't come in for this episode until page 5. So just to save paper, I don't have the first 4 pages because it just seemed a little bit pointless. But anyway, so when I first get a script, the first thing I do is read it all the way through without making any notes whatsoever, just to read it and appreciate it for what it is. I then go through and I highlight my name whenever my lines are. And I sometimes do it in the stage directions as well if they're relevant. And I also go through and I pick out my key words, which are these words that are kind of, they have a little arrow, I guess, on top of them, and the punctuation as well. And the reason I do that is because I find it like, let me turn it this way for you. I find it easier to learn when I can see the key words and the purpose of the sentence. So like I know that, you know, I'm trying to say how I got given these possessions or whatever it is. It just means that if I have a line fluff on the day, at least I know the basis of the sentence and I know the crux of what's going on. And it also means that I'm actually saying the lines and emphasizing the right words, because as we all know, like you can emphasize a different word and completely change the meaning of a sentence. So that's what I like to do. And the punctuation helps me remember that it's a question, for example, and it helps me with my vocal acting and whether to raise my voice at the end with a, you know, higher pitch or whatever it is. So that's why I do that. That was just part of my training and I kind of have just stuck with it, I guess. If you see any bits crossed out, that's because I'm not in that scene or I maybe aren't speaking for a while. If I'm in the cafe and then other characters are talking in the foyer, I kind of cross that bit out because I'm not explicitly speaking to them. So it just makes it easier for me to see what I'm actually needing to learn. And then these blacked out bits aren't private information. Sort of looks like a World War II letter that's been intersected, but it's actually just stage directions that don't apply to me because I find it easier to read a script and it just be everything relevant to me. It's my script. This is my property, and that's how I find it easiest to learn. So things like this says Roger ends the call with the police. I don't need to know that because I will see him do it and I can react to that organically if I need to. I can still read it through the, you probably can't, but I can still read it through the black if I need to read it. And then these little beats, what I was trained to do was to break up scenes into beats and blocks, not only to make them easier to learn, but to establish the flow of a scene. And so whenever there's a change in conversation or intensity, or if a new character comes in, that's when I put in a beat like this. So when Jackie enters, I put in this beat and I label it. So I call it Roger's Belongings so that I can easily remember it. And when I'm learning the chunks, I know that this next chunk is Roger's Belongings, and it just helps me keep up with what I'm doing. And then I also put my objective here. So in this scene, she's entered and she wants to give Roger her stuff back. So I've put, I want to give Roger his things back. Other ones might be, I want to persuade Carol to join this campaign. I want to do this. I want to do that. That just helps me feel like when I'm acting, I'm always working on her objective, because when we're doing things, we're always doing them with a purpose. And I always want to try find what that purpose is for a character, because I find it easier to say a line if I know why she's saying it, if that makes sense. Anyway, and then the final parts are these verbs that are all around my lines. And this is a technique that I learned at Met where I trained. And I've just used it ever since because I found it so helpful. Basically, it's the idea of always saying a line to impact the other person in one way or another. So rather than thinking about saying the line because I'm feeling something, it gives it more substance if I'm saying it with a purpose. So I want to surprise you. I want to help you. I want to assist you. I want to reason with you. I want to shock you, whatever. And I always give different options, because something that sounds good on paper might not actually come across that well on screen. So I like to have it so that I can change it up. So if the director says, could you do that but be a bit more assertive, I can say, right, okay, I will do that, and I will initiate, or I'll provoke, or I'll prompt, rather than whatever I was doing previously. So that's basically the the gist of it. So as you can see, lots of crossed out things here, a new beat. So when after I've analysed it and I go to learn it, I learn it by the beats. So if I go to, these are all pages that I'm not in, as you can see. Let's find a page that I'm in. So when I'm going to learn it, I can be like, right, I need to learn these 8 blocks or however many there are. And I'll learn Natalie's attitude, and I will go through and I'll learn that completely as that block, which is it's quite a long one, this one, isn't it? Up until here. Oops, out of sight. Up until here, and then I know that it's like a full block, and it just helps me remember it and keep on track. And especially with a script as long as this one, it's really hard to, I couldn't learn it all in one go as 25 pages. I would have to learn it as the blocks to keep me kind of focused and know what I'm doing. So that is how I analyse my scripts, and I sometimes write little odd notes on it, but because I've been involved in the writing, those notes are usually actually within the script at this point rather than written in hindsight. So yeah, I hope that was helpful and not too boring. Good morning. So today is Saturday the 20th of March, and that means we are filming episode 2 for Gym BS today. My call time is 2 o'clock, so I'm going to set off at about 1. But yeah, in the meantime, I'm dressed and ready to go. I've got a bit more of a full-on face today because I had an audition like 10 minutes ago on Zoom. So it's been a bit of a full-on day already, but I'm raring to go. I'm excited. Got my script all learned, all in the head, hopefully. And yeah, let's just see how it goes. I think a lot of today's scenes are in the cafe, and then tomorrow we've got the scenes that are later on because they take place like in the lobby area. Let's do this. Hi guys, so it's now nearly 2 p.m. Traffic was really heavy, not sure why, it took me nearly an hour to get here. But I'm here, I'm on time, I've just seen Erin, she's just pulled up as well. So let's see what they're up to. Yes, so I'm on the set for Gym BS. We are in a break now, but we're filming episode 2. So I thought I'd show you a little bit about the set. This is set up for the cafe at the minute, which we've just finished all the scenes for, so we're going to do a reset, and then it'll be a blank space in the lobby. But if you come around here, we've got 2 mics, one over here, one over here. Just so we can capture sound, so if one of them picks up like a phone or, I don't know, something we don't want to hear, we have got a spare like audio file we can use. And then these are our 360 cameras. So I'm not going to tell you how it works because I'm going to be honest, I've got no idea. I just know that this is what we look at when we're looking at the screen, and both of them together are capturing 4K footage that can be rendered together to create a 360 file. What else can I show you? This is our little eye line for looking at the screen when we're in the lobby because everything's rotated. So that's our little eye line there. And I think that is everything. We usually only have a very small crew. We've got David, who's our director and cinematographer, and we've got Annie, who's making sure our continuity is on point and recording all of our sound for us. So that's it. Okay guys, that's actually it for day 1. Me and Tim wrapped early today because there are scenes that we're not in that they're doing at the minute. So I've had a pretty easy day, which is good. I'm now going to go home and learn a very long scene that Tim and I are doing tomorrow, which I really hope I can remember all the lines for, but I've got the rest of the afternoon, which is really good. So I managed to get a few little bits of behind the scenes footage, but not very much because as I say, it's been quite complicated with continuity and there's been some long scenes today. But I'm going to get some more tomorrow and hopefully a few more interviews with people to see how they're getting on and what their thoughts are of episode 2. So catch you then. Hi guys, so today is Sunday. It's just turned 12:01, so we're officially into the afternoon and I'm about to set off for Gym BS. I look a little different. I've decided to keep my plaits in until I get there in the hopes that my hair will look more similar because it's so heavy because we can't have any haircuts that it looks different every single day, so continuity has been a bit of a pain. Not that people should be focusing on what my hair looks like, but I'm trying to do my bit. So I'm going to set off now. My voice is a bit croaky, so I'm going to do some vocal warm-ups as I drive and hopefully get some more footage today because it was a bit manic and I was only there for a little bit yesterday. So I haven't got much footage of us actually filming. So hopefully I can set my camera up somewhere and do do some little time lapses. That'd be pretty good. So let's go, let's roll. Okay, I've arrived, so let's sort this hair out and get started.
We very quickly learnt that the hardest scenes to film are those with more than a couple of people in, especially if we're speaking to a character in a different space. Not only do we have more chance of someone slipping up on a line, but we also have to keep the pace accurate to how the other scene has been recorded. In this scene, we're talking to Natalie, who is on the other side of the lobby, so our eye line for her is one of the cameras. When we're facing the right-hand side, we're watching the smart TV. The problem is, Bailey, who plays Natalie, filmed this scene the day before from her perspective, and the gaps between her lines were very short, meaning we had to say our lines more quickly than we'd like to match the timing. This took more takes than I care to admit, especially as it was a 5-page scene. In the end, we split it into 2 so we didn't have to worry about messing up last minute and ruining the whole take. This is something we now take extra care of when filming one side of a scene, allowing more time between lines to make it easier for the other actors, as we can't interrupt the recording or there'll be sound issues. Oh, the joys of filming.
It's finally here, Jim BS.
Watch now on InView.